you don't understand that you're helping me keep my house.
Welcome to a special episode of Hometown Hustle. We are so glad to be back. I'm Grafton Sizemore.
I'm Rachel Branningham.
And I'm Brittany Jackson.
So we've been MIA for a little bit.
We have been
right?
a hot minute.
We had our final episode of season 1, and you haven't really seen us since May. And let's talk about it. So I'm just gonna go straight into it, right?
Yeah.
So we've had some followers, some listeners, and we've had people ask, are you all gonna start it up again? And summer hit. We're both in industries that get extremely busy. All three,
all of us,
all three in
Thanks,
industries.
Crafty.
Yeah, sorry. They stopped because they had enough of me for 6 months, is what it was. No, we have extremely busy lives. So we talked about, like, when do we start this back up? What does it look like? And we had a really, really cool opportunity with our guest today.
Yeah. So I think, to be very real with you guys, just like you all, we go through seasons in life, and there is no such thing as balance. And I think we had met, back in August was when we really decided we were supposed to be bringing this back.
Yeah,
And we met in August, and it was like, there were other priorities that we all were involved in. And so we took a step back and said, it's not never. It's just, we need to take a moment here and park this baby for a bit. And so I don't know about you guys, but I am so happy to be sitting behind this microphone.
happy.
It's felt like we've missed out on it for a while.
Yes. And like, I truly love what this podcast does. Not only for me selfishly, like, I get to meet amazing people and sit down with you guys on the regular and talk about life and share some of my heart and what's going on in my personal world. But really getting deep with these people and learning from our guests that we bring on. So though we had to step away, there are seasons in life, but I am truly grateful that this season is back. So what does Hometown Hustle look like going forward? I know that you mentioned this is a special episode, which that's what it is. We were talking about it and we're like, well, we're here in the holiday season and we have a special guest today who does a lot during this season for our community. And so we wanted to give her a voice and a platform to kind of share with you guys as to, like, how you can be involved in that effort. But now, as we step into 2026, what can our guests be expecting from us?
I think it's growth on our first year, right? Mm-hmm. So we had some awesome guests, and I could sit here and name every single one of them.
Yes.
But they all brought something different to the table,
Correct.
Something that people learned about Hardin County, our area. People learned, things about those people they already knew that they didn't know, right?
Deeper things.
We got to experience things in August when we started talking about what does it look like when we bring it back. I think one of those conversations was had with Jimmy Jenkins, when we were sitting there at the concert, that he had put on, which we got to talk about in the first season. And I think that's when we kind of started saying, wow, we really want to get back to this, but we got to figure out how and what it looks like. Right. Yeah. So.
And I think something fun for us each individually to share would be maybe a couple highlights, and doesn't have to go into it lengthy, but what are some of the highlights over the last couple months that we didn't get to share with our followers that happened behind the scenes that maybe caused the last couple months to be such a flurry of activity? I don't mind to go first, give you guys some thought here, but
I guess. No, go ahead.
Well,
she's married. I'm kidding. Sorry, guys.
No, still single.
Come on, guys. I don't know what you're doing out there.
I know I'm happily married to 2 little boys. They're 6 and 9.
There you go.
And they have their mama's heart. But we got moved into our new building. So I don't know how many of our followers knew, but we had purchased a building back in December of last year. And we had an awesome team renovate that space, my brother's company. And so we had been hard at work making all those decisions. Well, that building finally got finished up in late July, early August, and it was time to get moved in. And just because a building has been completed as far as construction wise, it does not mean that you can just move in and magically open the doors the next day. It's really been a process of like buying desks and buying chairs and figuring out where the printer is going to sit and the
learning new
Wi-Fi
logistics.
and, you know, getting TVs mounted and, oh, the desk doesn't fit the way we thought it would. So now we got to get a different desk. So settling in, I feel like I can confidently say that my systems are up and operating inside those new four walls. And so it's a pinch me moment to go to work. I can't wait to get there. And I'm so excited about the growth that I see happening in that space. So that has definitely been a huge highlight for me. I got to visit Germany, got to travel with my sister-in-law and experience Germany in that process. Yeah, I think those are some of the big ones.
So we kind of overlapped in Germany and
We
didn't
did.
know it, like until like right when it
planned.
happened. Yeah. So I think people saw they're like, did they plan going to Germany? No, like it was just completely crazy. So I had a little brother who is overseas right now, stationed overseas. So myself, my brother, and sister-in-law decided, you know what, we're going to go see him in Germany. We planned the trip. And the Germany trip turned into a trip to France, turned into a trip to Croatia.
Yeah, guys, I was
turned
gone
into,
like 5 days, and he was gone like 45 days.
No,
okay,
It was a
It was
super long time, like a
very-
couple
It was
months.
seriously-
Didn't know if he was alive.
I will tell you this.
Brittany and I about shot the podcast without you. We're like, he's never coming home.
He's never coming home. We'll just do it solo.
Y'all
We're
are
gonna
so full
audition
of
for
it.
a replacement.
Yeah, you're so full of it. So I talked to my boss for the year before, and I said, if I go over there, I really want to do a 2-week trip. I've never been away from work that long.
It was more than 2 weeks.
It was 2 weeks.
It was
2 weeks.
4.
It was not 4. You're so full of it. So
I
go,
plead the fifth.
I go over. Y'all are so. I can't even. I remember why it's been 6 months. No, I'm kidding. So I talked to her and I said, I want to go do this. I will say this: I will never be gone that long again. It
That was a long time.
Very, very hard.
I'm gonna need you to never be gone that long.
It was
okay? And
very,
I was
very
gone
difficult.
for half of it.
I know. It was very difficult. But we started off in France, started off for 2 days there. Then we went to Germany, visited my brother for about 4 or 5 days there, went to Oktoberfest. Craziest, coolest experience
Super cool.
of my life. It was great.
Yep.
We hopped over there and went to Croatia and went to Dubrovnik and jumped off the side of some rock cliff type things into water. It was amazing. And then we went to Italy for 6 days at the end. And
So you can clearly see how it wasn't 2 weeks. If you put all of that together, 4.
2 days, 5 days. Croatia was like 2 days
Don't
and
even.
then 6 days. So
Don't
it might have
even.
been 15 days.
Yeah.
now it comes out.
2 days, 2 weeks and a day. No, but it was really cool because I got to do it with my family, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with you. You got to
Yep.
go with family, and you
Yep.
got to spend an awesome time over there. Immerse yourself in other cultures. I will tell you, when I got back, I kissed the ground because
happy.
I was so happy to be back home.
It's a different experience.
Did you see like the water bottles over
Oh,
there?
the most annoying thing
It
ever.
is so annoying.
The lids don't come off, so you've got this plastic cap like hitting you in the
It
face the
stays
whole
on it.
time.
It's the
Are
weirdest
you talking
thing.
about
So
the,
strange.
like, we have them
Like
here. Are
this
you talking about the
bottle
ones we
caps.
have here that you flip
Yeah,
up?
but they just
No, they don't just
pulled
flip. It's
off
not
to
like
the side.
it's not like a squirt bottle. It's like just like a regular Coke bottle or
Okay.
something like that. And the lid that comes off for us, it's the same lid, but it doesn't detach.
Interesting.
So it
and so
stays there
you'll
and just
take
hits you
a
in the
sip,
face.
and it's like slapping you in the face
You're
or
like,
like
"Stop."
scratching you.
And there's no ice anywhere. It's like they don't put ice in anything, so it's just like
Oh, I
room
couldn't-
temperature,
yeah.
everything. And I'm like,
That's a-
no,
that's a
no,
no-go.
except for maybe a few beers that we had that were cold. That was cool, But
There
other
were
than
some
that,
really cool experiences being over there, though.
It was a lot of fun, but you get home and we went at a time that it was a little cooler, so we didn't have to worry
Super
about the
cold.
air conditioning situation because they don't have AC over there either. So
Oh, fun.
that's a whole nother thing. But
I've been through that before.
yeah, we had a
Military.
great time. As far as business goes, that's probably what's kept me away from the podcast more because we're in a season of growth.
Same.
For us, for
Yep.
Model Mortgage, and that doesn't always mean people. I think people
100%.
sometimes think growth means you're hiring more people, you're getting bigger. No, it's how do we serve people more efficiently, better?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that we're doing as much as we can in the most efficient way possible? We have added a team member or two, but nothing crazy in terms of people, just growth in systems and everything else to make sure that we're staying at the top of the game. Honestly, I feel like I've been the last month on so many self-growth training type of sessions and system type sessions so we can do what we can do to help your clients, just clients in Hardin County in general and all throughout the state of Kentucky. So that's what we've been working on, but glad that we're working through those and being the best versions of ourselves we can be at work and doing those things to be able to not have to worry about the growth part anymore and worry more about stuff like this, stuff that we love to do. Right.
Love it.
How about you?
Brittany.
I guess it's my turn. No. So obviously mom of 3. So just that in general is wild. It's every day, like something new. Some of it is the same stuff and you just keep doing it over and over again. You're like, this is the season. And it's just like learning to be appreciative of the moments that you're in. All of my girls have late birthdays in the year. So one of them's in October and 2 of them are in November and mine's in November. So like the majority of our household had birthdays in the later part of the year. And then summer is always wild, with kids being out of school and then trying to navigate like what's something like entertaining that I could like let them go to and that they're getting enjoyment out of it versus just like sitting with me at the office. we mutually had kids running around the office during summertime, but and thank God for my husband too, because I was able to take 2 different trips over the latter part of the year, and both of them like self-development type of trips. I told Rachel when I came back from the first one, I said, I think I just went through emotional and physical war. I came back and it was like good things, like learning more about why you are the way you are, and then just like really good insights into yourself and like figuring out like better ways to lead, getting out of a comfort zone. I flew by myself all of the times. I had to do 4 planes each trip because it was 2 planes connecting there and back. So I had to do all that and navigate all of that by myself. Luckily, we had went to Mega Agent Camp the year before that, so it kind of got me familiar with the whole plane system. But, went, and the first one that I went to, there was 27 people I didn't know. And I went there literally not knowing anybody except for like the owners of the companies that you've seen, but like it's crazy like see them in person, so
Totally outside the box. I mean, you're
totally outside the box. Yeah. Which, if you're going to lead by example and like push people out of their comfort zone, that's honestly the main way that we grow. That's probably one of my standard sayings is you grow in the uncomfortable. So as much as we can get ourselves into different ways of thinking, like if you think that everything that you know is correct, you're wrong. I'm going to tell you automatically you're wrong.
I'm a firm believer in what you said, that self-development and understanding who you are is first and foremost, because when you do that, you can lead better as other. You can be parts of teams better, right? When you understand who you are and how you work, then when you get frustrated or when you get angry or when those things come up, because it happens to all of us, right?
Yep.
You understand how to better realize that you're the only person that controls your reaction to those things.
Yeah.
And you can't let other people. And when you start doing that, then others start realizing they can do the same and everybody grows.
Yes,
right?
yes. And it helps you to be like more sympathetic to people because at the end of the day, we all have different stories and we've all been through crap.
Yeah.
I came to realize that the most, like, especially the second time. It was a smaller group of people. It was probably about like 12 people in the second time that I went. And moreover, like figuring out who you are, why you are the way you are, just crazy insight, right? And like hearing everybody else's story and you like think that some of the crap that you've been through, although I know that there's much worse out there, like hearing and seeing the people that have come out of that, just so cool.
That's
so
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Which
awesome.
I heard about in the summer with all these kids running around. There was some pretty wild hide and go seek games in this new building.
Yeah.
That was going on with all the boxes and all the moving.
Especially in the very beginning, because we were still like, it was still super dusty in there. My kids came out like ghostly white from just like hiding under things. And
for you two, it was frustrating. For them, it is memories they'll have forever.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we will have one more special episode before the year wraps, because I'd kind of like to do like a whole wrap on 2025, just the 3 of us.
I would love that.
But I truly am so excited to draw this year to a close, because for me personally, it was my word for the year was refining. It just the last 6 months. I'm sorry that we had to step away, because I really did miss this, but I want to say thank you for y'all's patience with us, because this year has been refining in so many ways. It has really just dusted off a bunch of layers that needed pruned off. And I know the Lord was at work in all of our lives individually, but I'm excited for what is going to be 2026 and the guests that we're going to have in the hot seat, the interviews that we're going to do and bring to you all, and the platforms that we're going to be sharing these interviews on.
I'm excited about it.
Yes.
Yeah, we've got some fun stuff coming. I don't want to give too much away. You're
Stay
going to
tuned,
see it.
right?
Yeah,
Stay
it's a
tuned
stay
type
tuned.
situation.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what we do, but amplified on a bigger platform. So I wanted to say thank you all as we head into our special guest episode. As I had mentioned, this woman that we're bringing in today, I have had the opportunity to serve on a board and watch her lead as the executive director. And I am so inspired and just in awe of her. And already, and I know about that much about her. And so when I was telling them, hey, I want to bring us back in the studio and sit down with this woman, I selfishly am here for this. I cannot wait to dig into what makes her so powerful, what makes her lead in such a strong and emotionally deep way. I mean, she just has so much passion in everything she does. So I'm super excited for you guys to meet our guest. Guys, happy to be back.
Glad to
right.
be back for sure.
I am
Yes.
so happy.
So surreal.
I've missed this microphone.
I miss hearing you all so clear in the microphones.
Right. Well, awesome. Well, we're going to get on to our next guest and we'll be back shortly.
And we are back. I'm super excited about today's guest. As I mentioned, there's someone that I'm completely inspired by. I'm so excited to have her in the hot seat, talk about a complete powerhouse, someone that I am inspired and motivated to rise and to do more for my community on the daily. I have the opportunity to sit on the board with Helping Hand for Hope, and that is where I met our today's guest, which is Hope Burke. And I have just, in watching you lead in the way that you carry yourself, it's filled with grace, and you give daily everything you've got to this community. And so we are just humbled and honored to have you sit down with us. And I'm excited, as I had mentioned to you previously, one of the things that I love so much about this podcast is, you know, we're in the vicinity of each other, and I feel like I know you. However, I don't know your story. I don't know what brought you to this place, what brought you to this moment. And so I'm really excited, selfishly, to dig into that story and get to know you on a much deeper level. So thank you very much for the opportunity to sit down with you.
Oh my gosh, like that's going to make me cry. Like I wasn't expecting that. Like thank you guys for letting me come. Like this is just a true blessing.
Well, please know that is genuine. That's not something I made up. Obviously, I left my script at home, so I don't even have a script. But I'm super excited. So obviously you serve as the executive director for Helping Hand for Hope. And one of the things that I'd like to start, but going back a little ways, I want to kind of hear your story. Maybe, you know, you start that where you feel comfortable, but obviously there were things that led. Have you always lived in Hardin County, or is this kind of a new, at some point you made your way here?
Yes, this is new. So when my husband and I, David, got married in 2018, I always say that I pulled the straw that said I had to come here because I was living on the East Coast. And so one of my best friends introduced us. And so we had dated for like a year, long distance, and I was like, okay, this isn't going to work if we really want to be together. And so, you know, the driving and flying back and forth. And so I drew the straw that said I had to come here.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he was here. How did you two meet?
So one of my best friends, Donna, actually introduced us. And so we just started dating that way. And so we dated for about 8 months, and we're like, okay, we really want to be together, but we both have young kids. And it's like, how are we going to do this? And I was a single mom at the time. And it was like, okay, if we want to do this, again, we're going to have to be local to each other. And he was like, okay, let's get married. And so we started talking in, I believe it was August. We met in person in October. We got engaged in January. We were married in June.
Hey,
You got that right. I think I got it right.
when you're busy adults, like when you know,
Yeah.
I that's beautiful.
Well, I was always going to be the single mom that once he graduated, I was going to move to Miami and was going to be a golden girl that was eating my cheesecake sitting on my veranda. And so God slapped me in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned God. Talk to me a little bit about your relationship with him. Where did you meet him? and at what point in life?
So I think I grew up originally in the South. And so I feel like I was always that, hey, you know, you go up at the altar call with all your friends after Disciple Now, and you don't really know what's happening. And so I feel like I knew him when I was younger. But then things in life happened and I questioned, like, okay, do I really know who he is? And I feel like I stirred away from God for a while. And I think for me, the biggest part for me was there was a situation in 2017, I believe it was, my mom, who was like my adopted mom, who came into my life later after my grandparents passed away. And she was my heaven on earth. Like, she was that person to me. She was my Galinda to my Elphaba, my whole, like, just everything. And she had a heart attack. And I did not, as a single mom, have enough money to fly while she had her heart attack. And I was helping manage a humane society at the time while I was working hospice. And this dog came in named Bailey. And I was like, I've never been a dog person. I've always been a cat person. And God sent Bailey to me. Oh. And Bailey is still my bougie girl. Like, she is my oldest rescue that I have right now. And God gave me her when I needed her the most. And that was God, like, Hope, I got you. Like, I have you. Like, you know, this type of thing. And so there was another moment, especially after like 9/11 too, that God really showed me through some books that Karen Kingsbury wrote that was like, okay, I got you. You're good. So I feel like it's just gotten stronger over the years. And it's just been seasons of life, you know, that you go through and different things like that. But I would say probably in the last 10 years, it's been the most like, girl, I got you.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I think I don't know about you guys, but I have very similar moments where, you know, I think you carry that faith out of your childhood, and then there's a moment where you're confronted with how dark and hard life is, and he becomes yours, right? Mm-hmm. Like then it transitions. So
yes.
Talk to me a little bit about childhood. You touched on it just a hair there, but didn't grow up here. Where were you from?
So I was originally from Alabama. I was born to a mom who was 15 when she got pregnant and was going to a Catholic church and school. And they, of course, if you're not married, when you go to a Catholic school, you know, that's like a big thing. And she wanted to have an abortion. Like, she was, I want to have an abortion. This is what's got to happen. And my grandparents were like, no, girl, no. Like, no, we're not doing this. And so I was born, and on the third day of being in the hospital, they came in and they were like, we're going to do an emergency adoption. And so they adopted me, lived with them. Obviously, I mean, they were the best parents that I knew at that time. They did everything for me because they were older, and my siblings that were like my uncles, but I grew up as my brothers, and then my birth mom as my sister. You know, I always felt like there was a little bit of tension there because here I am, like the new little baby, and they're like, you know, already in their 20s. Like my one brother was like in a rock band, like basically on MTV. Like it was a whole thing, like, you know, 90s, so cool. 80s, like rock band, you know. And so here I am, like the cute little baby. But so my dad, which was my grandfather, died of cancer when I was 13. And then my grandmother got sick with cancer when I was 17, and she passed away. And so in the midst of all of that, growing up, I was raped, and I got pregnant from that rape. It was a whole thing. And a lot of people tried to force me to have an abortion. And I was like, I can't do that because I wasn't an abortion. You know, like, and again, I think that full circle, like of God being like, hello. And I always believe that things happen and it's part of your story. And so I was able to give him up for an adoption. Kind of a crazy miracle story. I had this wild hair that I'm going to be able to take care of him and I'm going to be able to do all this. I was in the hospital with him, and a nurse came in the day that was supposed to be off that day, and she was the breastfeeding coordinator, and she had always wanted to have children and couldn't, and she's the one that adopted him. So it was a whole, again, God's story. So again, you know, God's hands on things. So at that point, I was like, I'm done with this. Again, trying to run away from God. I was mad at a lot of things. I was like, well, I'm going to New York City. If anybody can make it, I'm going to do it. And so I literally moved to New York City with $5,000 in my car and did it. Put myself through school, and
I knew I loved you.
Yeah.
I loved you.
It was the craziest thing. I always say, like, different TV shows, like, I'm the next Carrie Bradshaw. No, not really. But, you know, you hear these things and you're like, well, if these people can do it, I can do it. Yeah. And so that's a part of a lot of my story. And I ended up having my son, Kingston. I was with his father for a while. We were, married, and we got divorced. And so I was a single mom for 8 years. And so I basically did everything for him while we lived in New York, worked 2 jobs. Like I said, did everything that I could, that he had everything that I never had, like growing up and things like that. Once we left New York, I got offered a job in Pennsylvania. And so we moved close to Hershey, Pennsylvania, and I worked there, and we lived there. And I mean, I loved it. I loved that time and that season that it was just him and I, because I feel like that's what made our relationship that it is now. Mm-hmm. Especially, they always say like, daddy's girl, or, this, that, but moms of boys are something so special, especially when you're a single mom.
Yeah.
Because I think you just teach them and raise them to love women and love different things about themselves too. That's sometimes hard.
Yeah.
But it was just him and I. Like, people laugh because I'll be like, I was at a Justin Bieber concert, but Kingston was with me. Or, I'm doing the Macy's Day Parade in New York and Kingston's with me, So it was like he was always with me. And so I felt like culturally that gave him so much that he had. And so there were weeks that I would work 75 hours, like when he was with his dad, that I would work overtime just to be able to provide different things and, make sure that he could go on a cruise with me or do something like that. So
you talked a little bit about kind of that relationship. So I'm a mama's boy. I think they know it. So, and it brought my Britney Spears vibes back when she was talking about Justin Bieber, like going to a Britney Spears concert with my mom. So, no, but when you talk about that, so before we get into really helping Hand for Hope, how professionally do you juggle that? Because it's not easy. I think a lot of people think that it's super easy. I was telling them before we came in tonight, I was like, I just have a dog, and getting here and trying to get ready for all of this was tough. So when you have, a young child, you're a young single mom, what do you do to grow your professional career and balance that?
And something I would like to selfishly, obviously, how old is Kingston now?
So he's 18.
Okay. So mine are 6 and 9. So I'm in the thick of I've been in the thick, and I'm still in the thick of balancing a big career, but also being present and not letting them feel that mommy's not mommy, right? Mm-hmm. So selfishly, I'm really curious as to what worked for you. And so.
Well, and I will say, I think a lot of times, for us, there would be weekends that it was like, okay, he's going to his dad's. And so I'd be like, okay, let me plan all these extra hours that I'm going to work and things like that, which first off, I want to tell you, you're an amazing mom. I see everything that you post, and I see the things you juggle. So don't ever beat yourself about that, ever.
Thank you.
I think the world now, it's so hard with those things, and we're put so many, I don't want to say perimeters on stuff, but it's like, oh, it should be this way, or you've got to do it this way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you have to do what works for your family. And so for us, it was one of those things that there were times that I felt like I wasn't present with him, and I should be, because he was never really big into the sports stuff. So then I felt bad, well, am I not pushing him into the sports stuff? Am I not forcing him to go into that stuff? But I feel like as parents, we have to let them find that niche and find what works for them. So for me, like I said, it would just be that balance of, okay, he's going to be gone this week to his dad's, or he's gone this weekend. Let me cram as much stuff as I can. And there were nights, when I worked in hospice, some of my patients would have told you, if they were still here, that Kingston would be there with them playing Skippo. He would be there on a Friday night if I had to work, because they just loved him too, that he would be there with them because they didn't have anybody else either.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, a lot of doing rights and a lot of doing wrongs.
Yeah.
That's what I can say.
Yeah. Well, and I love, my kids kind of have the same experience. If mommy's got an appointment, well, you guys have an appointment too, right?
Yeah.
We just make it fun and try to obviously, I'm careful about what I take them to, because I don't want them to be shushed into a corner, right, if it's something like this. But I do want them to have exposure and experience, and, hopefully that attributes to, strengths as they grow. So
they're making cameos in videos. I'm
do.
seeing it in the listing videos.
That
They're
we
making
go
cameos.
viral. I know. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, what are you doing? Why did we not go viral yet? What happened? It's you promised me with all these, Pokemon cards, one day something would happen. But yeah, no, I get it. There's no right or wrong. And that's what I always tell people. You just have to find what's your best fit.
Perfect. Grafton, did you have another one, or am I?
No, go
Okay,
for it.
cool. So you made it your way to Kentucky, and how long have you been here?
So we got married in 2018.
Okay. And then, so now you serve as the executive director over at Helping Hand for Hope.
Yes.
So tell me about finding your way to Helping Hand for Hope, and what did that look like? And clearly I can tell from your background, you've experienced a lot of pivotal moments that are considered hard, right? I mean, very challenging things. And so I would assume that those have come together to create a genuine heart for others, and just a lot of sympathy and grace for people who are walking through tough situations. Am I correct in that?
Oh, 100%. So when we first got married and we first located here, I told my husband, I said, I really don't want to go back into like hospice because I burn out very hard. And I got really close to my patients, and that outcome is not always good. You know that you're not going to get to see a lot of them after a year or 3 months, 3 weeks, anything like that. And so I was like, I don't want to go back to that. And so I have bonus kids. And so with that, they were young too. And I was like, of course, if I did something like that, you're probably going to be doing 12-hour shifts, things like that. Part-time in Pennsylvania, I helped run an animal shelter. Well, now I have 4 rescue dogs and 5 rescue cats. So I think my husband was like, that's out. No, don't even ask. Do not even ask for that, So he was like, no, you're good. So we had actually, a friend of his at church had told him about a job at Helping Hand of Hope. And they were like, I think that they have a marketing like fundraiser position, like this, that, and the other. And David was like, well, I think you should apply for that. And I was like, okay, what do they do? Okay. And so I ended up getting the job. And the director there, I worked there for a little less than a year, and the director was retiring. And I was like, well, maybe I could do this. Like, let me throw my name into the hat and things like that. And so I got the position. No, I did not start the agency. Everybody's always like Helping Hand of Hope. I'm like, it
is appropriate.
Right?
Yeah, I'm like, that's the reason they hired me. That's the only reason they hired me.
Good marketing.
Yeah, but I was like, it was a God thing because again, seasons in your life, different things. There were times as a single mom that weren't easy. When I first left Kingston's dad and everything, I was homeless. Like I had nothing. Like I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from. Even though you work and you're in New York City, when your apartment's $2,000 and you have all these things. So I was pregnant actually when we split. And so homeless, like I didn't know what I was going to do. And my mom, the one that I was telling you guys about, that was like my mom that came later on, I actually went back home and I had nothing. Like I went back home to some friends and I went to church one night, and this lady I met named Ashley told me, she was like, you need to go to this small group with me. And I was like, okay, I'll go. And so I went, and there was a bunch of people there, and I met this couple named Alton and Mary Yancey, and their mom and Paul. But they literally prayed over me that night. So when you mentioned laying hands on people, I was like, I definitely know what that is. And when Ma laid hands on me for the first time, knew nothing about me, knew my name was Hope. They didn't even know I was pregnant at this time, like because I wasn't showing that much. She said, I want to let you know something. You were not born to be a mistake. So whoever told you were a mistake was wrong. And that baby that you're carrying is going to do good in this world, and you're going to be okay. And I'm like, what? Like, who told, what is happening? And so the next day, this lady, Ashley, I'd met, that's a friend of mine now. She's like, remember that couple that I told you about? They want to bring you in their house and they want to help you. And I'm like, what? Like, that's not normal. Like, people don't bring you into their house. They don't do these things. And they're like, no, God told them to do it and they want to do it. And so they brought me into their house when I had nothing. And she became my mother and he became my dad. And she passed away a year ago. And she was just my best friend and my favorite person. And there were days that I disappointed her. Oh my gosh, there were days that I disappointed her. But she loved me through everything, never judged me, never got mad at me. And Kingston was one of her grandchildren, and you would have never known a difference.
Oh my gosh.
So when you talk about them, obviously you glow up like talking about them, right?
Yeah.
What role did they have in you getting into a service organization? Like, and I know it sounds like something that you had done, but how much of a role did they play into your path on getting to where you're at now?
Oh, 100%. Them and God that was it. Like if I ever, and I do not want to cry because my makeup's going to go everywhere. So when I had to tell her, goodbye over the phone, because we had actually had an event at Helping Hand of Hope, and I left from that event because I was like, I got to get down there. Like, something's not right. And Kingston and Paul were like, no, Hope, it's fine. Like, she's going to be okay. And I'm like, Kingston, no, we have to get in the car. And we drove through Nashville all the way to Alabama, like through these massive storms. And we got there like in record time. And I walked in and she's like, why are you here? Like, you act like I'm dying. And I'm like, I have to come and see you. I have to like hug you and tell you. And then it was like 2 weeks later, we got the call and there was no way that I could get there in time. And I just sat on the phone on FaceTime with her and the rest of her family just for about 10 minutes. And I said, I just got to cry this out. And I told her, I was like, you have changed me for good. And when you get to heaven and, you know, like, you changed me for good. And she did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and ultimately changed many people's lives because the way you serve through the different organizations you've served in, but now with Helping Hand for Hope, like her legacy lives on through your service.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, she doesn't even realize the generations that she's impacted. So what a beautiful story.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story. So for our listeners who, when I had the opportunity to join Helping Hand for Hope,
Yes.
I had heard of the organization, but never had the opportunity to really be involved previously. And there were aspects of it that I didn't even understand. I didn't really realize the reach that they have. So if you don't mind, share a little bit about Helping Hands for Hope's mission and what are the key things that they focus on in our community and how they serve.
I think the easiest way to say it without having to read like a 5-paragraph mission statement or something is to say, we serve to keep dignity in our neighbors that are in need in Hardin County. Because a lot of times the dignity aspect, I feel like, is what's taken away from people. And when people are in that dire need, like I remember when I had to go ask for food stamps and I was denied, it was the most embarrassing thing. And when I lived in New York, Superstorm Sandy happened and my car was in a garage in the city. And that's when we basically had like, you know, hurricane come through New York City and like my car was ruined. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to provide for Kingston that year for Christmas. And I had to go seek Christmas assistance. And it was just one of those things that every day I try to remember. But so for our neighbors in Hardin County for over 54 years, Helping Hand of Hope has provided emergency assistance, which considers like you think food, rental assistance, hygiene, utility assistance, transient services. We offer beds for children's program. We do affordable Christmas. We do a pet food pantry. We have a thrift store. I know I'm forgetting probably 20 things that we do just because we do a lot, but we want to be almost because when people come out and they are in that place in their life where they are struggling, we don't want to be like, okay, well, you're now here. So now we need to send you to these 7 other places. Yeah. So we want to try to get some of those needs. And it's with partnerships with like United Way and with different places that we're able to do that. And people do trust us because we have been in business. I do believe we are the oldest nonprofit that is in Hardin County. I'm going to say we are, but if not, then nobody come sue me. But I'm pretty sure we are. But it's those partnerships are so important because when those people come in and they are in those positions and then they're in those dire needs, we're able to serve them where they are. And so that's just very important because especially like, I'm just going to say our pet food because I told you I love pets. So we had a situation during COVID that a woman came in and her husband had just passed away. And the only thing she had left of her husband was this little dachshund dog. And she was like, I've not received anything from my husband yet because everything's tied into this whole COVID thing. You know, we've had payments. I lost my job. She's like, we're literally sharing cans of tuna every night, me and this dog. And she's like, this is my husband's best friend. I can't get rid of this dog. And I'm sitting there bawling. I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, is she about to tell me I got to take another dog home? Like, how am I going to figure this out? But no, so we got this idea because we partnered with some other agencies to where we get that donated. So no donor dollars go to that pet food and we're able to give pet food out in Hardin County because you never understand something could happen. And that could be that one sanity piece for that neighbor needing that. You know what I mean? And like beds for children. I always remember the movie The Blind Side. And I always remember Michael Orr.
That's one of my favorites.
I know, me too. I know too.
That's such a good movie.
I know. And if when he like, you know, she's looking and she's like, you know, here, this is yours. And he's like, I've never had one of those. And she's like, oh, a dresser or whatever. And he's like, no, a bed. And it's like, what? And so I never really understood that. What do you mean? Like kids don't have beds? Like we have delivered beds to people before where 3 teenage boys are sharing a twin size bed. Kids are sleeping on the floor. Kids are, you know, literally bed hopping because they don't have a bed. And it's like, that's so important for development, and even if people don't have a lot of money and can't go do these things, that is their space. Yeah. That is their safe place. And so that's very important. And like I said, just rental and utility assistance. We all know it's not just in Hardin County, it's everywhere nationwide. Like everything is going up. Yeah. And when you have like people's apartments, when I first moved to Hardin County, I remember hearing that there were apartments for like $600 a month. I don't see that anymore. I see people that come in and my case managers are telling me, Hope, listen, this is a single mom that works 40 plus hours a week and her apartment went from 800 to 1,400. And it's like, okay, we've got to help these people and we've got to do these things. And especially like Affordable Christmas, our Affordable Christmas program, we try to keep the dignity still with the families. And so we're able to work with the FRCs in the schools and also the churches. And we all do this partnership to where the families get to come to these churches on a select day and they get to shop for their children. And then they pay $15 back. So they know when they sign up, like they have X amount of months to save this $15. And they get to come pick those gifts because they know their children. And some of these children, if there's any kids listening to this, Santa Claus does know. But, like if someone's trying to help someone go shop, they don't know if little Timmy already has this, like, Thomas the Train.
We
this
ran
was
into
us
this
last night.
Yes,
100%.
And people don't realize that.
Yes.
And then it's like you have that child on Christmas morning and it's like, but we don't know. But that way they still get to come in because some of these parents never even get to go into a store. Like they never get that time away from their kids to still feel like they matter and get to do those things. And so that's very important. And obviously, like with our thrift store, we've made our thrift store, I really wanted it a boutique feel because I didn't want people just to feel like they came in somewhere and things were thrown in. So like our women's clothing is always $1 bag.
That's
Children's
amazing.
clothes is $1 bag plus tax. I have to say plus tax. But it is plus tax. And that's the thing that, like I said, it's affordable. And that's what we want because again, everyone deserves that chance too, no matter what season they're in.
For sure. I mean, I very much feel that it's the hands and feet of Jesus, right? Like you do through Helping Hand for Hope what I wish I could do every single day. Yeah. And so serving on the board is just one little way that I can be a part of it. Yeah. So I truly love the opportunity. Like it's been so much fun. Any specific stories that you, obviously with remaining anonymous, I certainly want to protect their dignity, but any specific stories that you have that have touched you specifically? And I have another question for you. Obviously, I'm assuming that the need can be great at times, almost greater than what you're able to handle. And so how do you all manage that? And what's it like in the day of the life of Hope and Helping Hand for Hope? So those are three very big questions. But if you had a specific story of someone directly impacted and, if you would touch on kind of the daily operation and how you handle the load at times, because I can imagine your heart is torn.
Yeah. So I would say like one of my favorite stories, and it was a Christmas story. So when we piloted this program, Christmas is hard. Like people don't understand like the backbones of everything, the moving parts. That's what I always say. Like it always looks good on picture, but like people don't understand no matter what it is, no matter what business you're in, all the moving parts. And so the very first year that we piloted it, I'll never forget, we're at this church and, they provide daycare too for the families. So like if the families need to have, childcare while they're shopping and these things like that. Yeah. So they tell them like the Christmas story, they say all this stuff. And I mean, I'm telling you at this point, I'm like, why did we ever start this program? I'm like, I am tired. I don't want to do this. Like why, and I'm like, God's ready to slap hope in her face. So we're standing there and this mom checks out and, they do these little activities too, to where the parents can come in and after they've shopped, they can go get their child and sometimes have like milk and cookies and different things. And this little girl runs up to her mom and she's like, Mama, do you know who Jesus is, Mama? There goes Hope slapped in the face. And I'm like, what if that was that one opportunity?
Yeah.
And to come to find out, then that child goes to that church now. And so now does the family. So that's that rooted moment. I think a lot of times some were during COVID and different things like that. More recently, like we had just today, we had a woman come in that she had a C-section 6 weeks ago. Her fiance left. She has nothing and has not gotten disability, hasn't gotten anything. And I had to make that judgment call as a director. Like, do I do more than what we normally do? Do we, can we do a little bit more? Who can we pull in as resources to get that? And we were able to do that. And just to see 2 days ago, I happened to walk up front to make a copy of something while they were getting a guy, signed in, and we were full for the day. And I just looked at him, and they always say Hope does not need to come to the front desk, because every time Hope comes to the front desk, Hope gets this feeling of something. And I'm like, y'all need to see him. I don't care. If I have to see him, if we have to pull, pull somebody else out, I know we're full for the day. And this man just sobbed and was like, you don't understand that you're helping me keep my house. And it's those moments like that. I mean, there's just stories all the time. I mean, that's just this week. But there's just those situations. We had a sex trafficking person come through, and we had to get them back home.
Wow.
We have had mamas that need formula and things, especially when we had the floods in Kentucky. The amount of, families, my office manager, or my case manager, she always laughs at me, and she's like, I get this call that there's this flood, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe they can come in and we can just give them these little bags of hygiene. And she's like, I turn around, and the next minute, Hope's raised $10,000 to go buy them the stuff that they need. And so I think that's just so funny. She's like, you just never say Hope can't do anything. But I think it's those moments like that. And I think that's what kills, keeps you grounded and keeps you in those, because times are hard, and there's days that you will get burnt out, and there's those things, but you remember those stories on the hard days and the people that you are helping. And like I said, there's stories all the time. Yeah. They continue every week. So like I said, I mean, I feel like I always laugh that I came into the position, COVID happened, and then I was like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And it's we've just kept pivoting towards things. Even in the last month with the government shutdown and things like that, having to pivot for that. For me, I would say I have a great board that listens to me. And when I come to them and say hey, this is what I think needs to happen, or please support me in that, I think that that's a big thing. And having a sounding, board there, to where when I do need to just have my breakdowns and things, because I will laugh. Probably there used to be a joke of, can Hope get through a board meeting without crying? Because it is sometimes where you get so passionate and you're so well,
I was going to comment on that. I sit, as I sit around that table and I watch you, share and what you've got going and the things that you want to see happen. I'm truly moved by the passion that you carry. This is not a job. I mean, it's not just another, way for you to make a paycheck. You carry yourself with so much heart, and I mean, you give yourself to this mission, and it's beautiful to see. And when you break out in tears, it doesn't bother me one bit, because I know where those tears come from. It comes from such a genuine place of wanting to do more and give all of yourself to this mission. So I compliment you on that, and never lose that. That's what makes you so incredibly good at what you do.
Thank
and
you
we
for that,
are so incredibly blessed to have you at the helm, leading that board. So,
and you talk about leadership and stuff. So I go back to the blind side, and this is the first time we've met, right? I know you've known Rachel for a while, but I get the same Sandra Bullock's character vibes, and it's a real person, right? Is that when you're in that leadership role, though, you're talking about some of those stories you talk that he says that's the first time I've ever seen a bed, but a lot of times. I think people in those positions look for somebody who are strong, confident leaders, right? And I can definitely see that's part of what you
that's
are,
very kind.
right?
That's very kind. Some
absolutely. But when you talk about that, behind that is always a good team, and that's a little bit what Rachel alluded to a minute ago too. So when you hear these stories and you see these things where you're helping people, who are the people behind you that help you make all that possible? Is it volunteers? Is it employees? Who are all the people that make all this work?
So I have 4 employees besides me. That is Cindy, Joyce, David, and Jaquita. Jaquita is my right hand, Miss J, as I like to call her. I always say we need a team of 50. We have some amazing volunteers that we do love and that give their heart and soul as well. And I think that is a big thing too. I think anybody that truly goes into nonprofit work, it's not about paychecks. It's not about going up the ladder. No matter where you are, it's your heart. And if that shines through, I think that shows through any type of darkness that you have. And I think that's very important, because they're hard days. I mean, I'm telling you right now, we're in a season because of Christmas and with shutdowns and everything else, that there are just days that I go home and I'm just I just got to go to bed. I'm just and I'm sure all of my staff feels that way. And there's days that they feel defeated even towards me as their boss, because they feel like they're letting me down. And I'm like, but you're not. I will always have you all's back. And I always tell them, I'm I'm that New Yorker at heart. So if I come through here flying like I'm Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada, I am not trying to be like that. That is just the New Yorker in me. I'm never going to throw my stuff and ask Andrea, where's my, coffee? But I'm just like, there's those hard times. And I think that that's just the strong part of it. And I feel like especially so many of us have gotten through things, especially COVID and different things. It's just always that pivoting, because when I started, I mean, where we were financially, like with our budget, I mean, we're double that now. And I could see even in 2 years that we could surpass $1 million. And that's a big thing. You know what I mean? Especially with fundraising and everything. And I've always been that person, like, I don't like the word no. I always feel like my whole life people would be like, oh my gosh, don't tell her no. But I'm one of those people that I don't like the word no, because then I'm going to try to get that yes. And I think that even with my relationships that I've made, like, I am that person that I don't care who you are. I will walk up to you on the street and I don't care who you are. Like, my friend Krista will tell you, we're at the Wicked premiere in New York City, and I'm like, there's Jimmy Fallon, there's Hope. And I'm like, I'm going to go over here and make a connection. Here's Leslie Odom, and they're like, can we help you up the red carpet? Because I just had surgery. But I believe everybody is a person. I don't care who you are. And I think everybody brings something to the table, whether you are the homeless person on the street or you're the biggest CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And that's how I've always lived by.
Do you see why she's just amazing?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I know you talked about Christmas a little bit too. I've got 3 little ones, and that's probably one of the biggest things is like, I've always wanted to try to get them involved. Like I'm in Kiwanis. I'm on the board at Kiwanis. And so I would love to connect after this to see if we can get some tips going. But, so I really want to get her involved with stuff like this. As far as volunteers, for like the Christmas season, obviously that's a heavy load. Is there a way that, like, what does that process look like to like bring somebody else on to help?
So are you talking about volunteers?
Yes.
So to bring volunteers on, especially at the Christmas season, I will tell you, as far as the shopping days, it is a little hard to bring littles in, just because sometimes people don't think about, what if that child's in the same school as my child? And they recognize them.
Oh,
yeah.
And so to keep that dignity aspect.
Yes.
But I always say, what I would always teach Kingston. So I was always that mom that was like, okay, Jesus got 3 gifts, you got 3 gifts. Like, you are no better than Jesus.
I love that. I need to use that.
No better than Jesus.
Oh,
like,
I'm using that line.
Oh, yeah, I did. Kingston will tell you there were some sad Christmases. No. But he was like, well, Mom, Jesus got gold. And I'm like, okay, back up.
You'll get one really good gift, and we'll get some ancillary gifts.
But, so that was my big thing. So for us, what I would always tell him, especially later on when we were in a better financial situation and things, why don't you give something back that you have that you're no longer going to use? And if you give that, maybe Santa or the Tooth Fairy or somebody will give you some extra money to where you can put that towards something that we're going to give to another child that needs it. Or what you could sit there and say is, why don't you do like a little lemonade stand? Or you could help me go buy toys for other children that are in need. And here's a list that we have, because they may need something that's for 7-year-olds, and you know what 7-year-olds want. And we can help these kids,
cool.
And our friends and our neighbors in need. So I think there's always fun ways, especially with little kids and other kids, to get them to really understand that aspect of how can we help other families? Because I always tell people, you don't know if the person behind you at the grocery store, if that person has children that sit next to your kids in school. Yeah. You don't know what that person's story is. You have no idea, and that's where I always try to tell them, like, that's what you always need to remember, because somebody behind you in the store that may have a Louis Vuitton that's using a food stamp card, you don't know if that person's husband just left them. Mm-hmm. You don't know if they were a domestic violence victim. Mm-hmm. You know nothing about them, and you are never to judge them.
Yeah. We actually do that. It's probably one of the biggest things that I try to get my kids to think about other people that are in need. So they actually just went through their room, and I was like, anything that you haven't looked at or touched at for like a year, like, let's give that to another kid that could use that. And so then they get kind of excited about it, honestly. Like, the more that we do it, the more excited they get. I know you have the thrift store. Do you all take donations like that?
So we do. And another big thing too that I always like to tell the littles to do too, Cereal is always fun because cereal is not something that you get. And that's another thing with our food pantry. I always tell people, go and buy the stuff that you're going to eat.
Yeah.
Don't go and buy stuff that just because it's on sale. Buy
Yeah.
the stuff because, again, neighbors like the same thing that others' neighbors do. It doesn't matter who you are. And so a lot of times with the youngers, it's fun, especially in the summer and stuff, that if they can collect like cereal boxes and try to make like the biggest domino effect with it, because we've had some that have done like 700 cereal boxes.
Yeah.
And so especially if it's like clubs or like Boy Scouts or like, sporting groups and stuff, that's always a fun thing to do because that lets them see it too, that they're like, oh, excited, like we got to collect more, or we got to do this, or I can slime Miss Hope in the face or something, whatever. But just throwing that out there, nobody's done that to me yet.
Well, you put the idea out there now, so
But I think starting young with that's very important too, just to get that understanding of, even if it is going to go into a thrift store and not go to a child, because you want them to have a new toy too.
Exactly.
Like they do at Christmas. But just giving that to give back, because a lot of times, especially generations now, they don't know what that looks like anymore.
Yeah.
Tithing, giving back, any of that.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to something that you said right before Brittany asked that question too. And it was kind of about judgment and not judging the person who might have the Louis Vuitton right behind you. Right. And I want you to hit on that a little bit more, because I think people automatically assume because people have those things that they don't need help. And I remember hearing a story of a lady who was driving a pretty nice vehicle, right? And she was going to a food bank, and people were like, why are you doing this? Why are you taking this? You have this nice car. And her entire answer was about how that was the only reliable thing she had to get to work. It's the only thing that they had paid off from her former marriage, that she had got nothing else from. And it was the only thing that got her from place to place in a reliable vehicle to get her kids to school, to go to work, to make money, to continue to survive. She was in a small apartment, nothing fancy about it except for her car.
Yeah.
But she got judged so much based off of that, but it was the only thing that she had that was hers.
Yep.
So I want you to talk a little bit about more how important it is to make sure we're not judging people in those situations.
Well, and I will say too, in Hardin County, what I've learned too is sometimes that's the only place that they can get that will give them a loan to get a car. And their interest rate is very expensive, but that's the only cars that they can get. And so I was that single mom, and I, again, had nice things, but those were things that, yes, I had paid for, and it's not always as easy. Just let me go sell that. It's not that easy.
100%.
It's not. And to sit there, and I always say, Jesus told us not to judge and to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and to be there and to share Jesus eyes. And that is always like, I feel like my biggest like go-to theme, show Jesus eyes, because that is what we are called to do. And there's going to be times none of us are perfect by any means. We're going to judge. We're all going to fall short. That's why all of us will have our own judgment day. But I don't want Jesus to ever look at me one day and say, Hope, why didn't you help that person I put in front of you? I'll be like, because like I said, that is my dream when I get to heaven. My first thing is I want to wash Jesus's feet. That has been my dream since I was like 5 years old, was that when I get to heaven, that's what I want to do. But I'm like, we are not to judge, and none of us are perfect, and we all do it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but again, we just all need to realize that every single person probably in this county, in this state, in this country are probably anywhere from 1 to 2 paychecks from being in a bad situation, if something was to happen.
Yeah, the majority of people for sure. And we talk about this some is you see those things and you see those people that you're like, well, they're doing well. And social media has made it so much harder, right? Yep. To easily judge, do those type of things. So having programs around like yours definitely help everybody, regardless of what you see on social media or what you think somebody's going through, because you never truly know. With that, a lot of the people that you help, so some of the people who come in, they may need the food bank. They may need Christmas items, anything like that. How often do you see those people become your volunteers?
So we have seen that. There is a little bit, I will say, with our volunteers, some of them to be able to come back is sometimes hard because we are a Monday through Thursday operation, or the second Saturday for food distribution. So some of them are still working. So that's the thing that is hard. We have had some that have come back and actually given back financially and different things like that. We have had people come back, especially during COVID, and they would help with some of those things. It's just, that's the thing I tell people. We're not always pretty, and it's not going to be pretty. And what we do is not pretty. And it's not the things, like I said, when I ran an animal shelter, you want to save the animals, you want to do that. But again, when it's called to help with the not so pretty things, it's always not always fun. But people need to realize there are more people than what you know that are going through this and having to need assistance, and no one should ever be shamed for it, ever.
For sure. Well, so a couple last minute questions. So I know we talked about you have 4 on staff, but you need multiple people. So who are you looking for, and how would they sign up? It sounds like Monday through Thursday and second Saturday. Talk a little bit more about that, because obviously volunteers are the blood flow, right? They make things move, they make things happen. How can we get involved?
Yes. So they can visit our website, www.helpinghandofhope.org. There is a volunteer little slide down there where they can sign up for that. We always need volunteers in our thrift store, because that is pretty much just ran by volunteers. Our client select food pantry, that was another thing I think I forgot to talk about. See, I told you something would happen. So our client select food pantry, I wanted that was where when our neighbors in need come in, they are actually able to shop themselves. I wanted them to have that dignity piece to where if they want Jiffy, they get Jiffy. It's not going to be some off-brand situation that nobody else would want, but they know their dietary restrictions. They know what their kids eat. They know those things, so there's not wasted food and things. So Client Select Food Pantry is another big one. Front office, warehouse work is always, because especially when we're in Christmas and different seasons of things like that, our warehouse manager sometimes needs help with like going and delivering the beds and things like that. So there's always an opportunity. We can always find a place for everybody.
Cool. I'm super excited. I'm coming Thursday, so I've blocked it out on my calendar. So a couple things more specific to you. So what have you learned about yourself through this work, and what keeps you going on the hardest days?
What have I learned about myself?
Well, you said you don't like no.
I think for me, no matter how many surgeries I went through or what is going on, that I can still with my staff pull off an amazing event or get some crazy things happening when it comes to events and stuff like that. I think that that's what I've learned, is that I can do that with my staff, and we can pull together and make anything happen.
I mean, just to speak on this woman, so we recently just had a big fundraiser.
Yeah.
It was hosted downtown, and it was all themed. And now I'm drawing a blank. Wicked. Yes, it was all Wicked theme. And I mean, she got the Broadway singers to come to the event, and the event was incredible. But here's Hope coming down, and she's like, I think my foot is bleeding. She's had an ongoing situation with her foot. You would have never known. This woman stood on stage and spoke in front of the whole environment. We raised how much at that event?
It was like $70,000 that we cleared. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you would never know. I mean, after the event, after everybody had cleared, she put her foot up. She was like, I've got to go home. Like, it was bleeding pretty bad. Like, it was, but that's the heart that this woman works with. Like, and her staff is, I mean, they are dedicated to her. Like, they follow you and will do anything for you.
Yeah.
So, and it's because of
amazing.
your leadership.
Yeah,
So.
they're amazing. There's days that I'm like, they hate me, but it's fine. No, but it's good. And I will say, next year is our 55th anniversary, and we are going to host another major event, which I can't say who the speakers are yet, but yeah, everybody may want to come to that one.
I'm so excited. So when you look ahead for a few years, what do you dream of for Helping Hand of Hope and the families that you serve?
I think that we will be at that $1 million budget to be able to help more families, because I just feel like no matter where we are in life, I feel like it's just going to continue for that need. I would like to just see to be able to serve more. Like if we serve 700, I'm just throwing this number. If we serve 700 people a month, I would like to see that at 1,400 if the need is there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you want the need to go down and things, but if the need is there, that we are actually able to do that and not have to ever turn anyone away.
Awesome. You have a mic in front of you.
Yes.
Is there something that you would want to say, kind of in finishing this out? Is there something you would want to share to our audience? Anything that you would want to tell them?
I think just if they feel led, like 50 cents is not too little. $5,000 is not too big. I mean, you know what I mean? If you are able to give, remember that these are neighbors in need, and this is in our county. So it's not going anywhere else. And, on the days that we're doing hotel vouchers or bus tickets or any of these things, this could be any of us in any type of situation if something happened. Just like I put a gentleman in a hotel the other day that we're having to do for a month because he's homeless and on chemo. And, again, anything could happen at any point in time, and just to remember that they are neighbors, and that even on the good days where we feel like we have good days or not, like we're all in this together. Like we truly are, like, you know, and there's people that do want to do good and always lean on those people.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. And sorry, one more thing too. If we if we have somebody on our heart that we know that's also struggling and that we would like to recommend to come to see you guys, is there a certain like number they call, or do they go to the website, or do they just show up?
So they can go to the website or email us, or you can give them my name and they can call and speak to me.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
Well, one of the last things we'd like to do on a lighthearted note is a little bit of a rapid fire round.
Okay.
Brittany's got some questions for you, and it's just fun, lighthearted, 5-10 second answers.
Okay.
What's your coffee order?
I don't drink coffee, so medicine ball.
I love it.
Your favorite family tradition?
We go on a trip every year for Christmas.
A song that always puts you in a good mood?
Defying Gravity.
Of course.
Love that. One thing people would be surprised to learn about you.
I've seen Wicked on Broadway 203 times.
Oh my goodness.
Gosh, dedicated.
I knew you loved it. I didn't know you loved it that much.
A quote or mantra that carries you through tough moments.
Always show Jesus eyes.
I love that. And one word that describes the season of life you're in right now.
Chaos.
We feel that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope.
Thank
I mean,
you,
I don't know
Hope.
about you guys, but I'm even more inspired than I was previously, and I've fallen more in love with you than I
Aw,
was
thank you.
already. I mean, I think that the character that I saw in you previously has been amplified dramatically by sitting down with you.
Aw, that's
like
so
this
sweet.
just made me, I'm just more excited to sit on the board and more excited to learn and watch you lead. I mean, it's just the way you lead with such heart and passion is beautiful. So
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you.
for
Call me
that.
anytime.
yes, perfect. All right, guys. Well, we're wrapping up here. We appreciate you joining us, and hopefully you all had a wonderful Christmas and a happy New Year.